As Frozen 2 is the most recent addition to the Disney revival era, it's time to rank all 10 films from the worst to the best. Hello everyone, I hope you're having a cinematastic day. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema, and before we get into my thoughts, I'd love to hear yours down in comments below, and be respectful of others' opinions. We all have our different opinions, own perspectives. And I also want to know that the Disney revival films are the films that really set up Disney to start getting bigger again as they came out of the post-Renaissance era that didn't do quite so well. This film led them to be a lot more successful in the box office, starting with Disney's The Princess and the Frog from 2009, and ever since then they've been getting even better and better. Coming in at last place at number 10, we have Winnie the Pooh, and just to let you know how much I enjoy these films, Winnie the Pooh is still a good film, and I really enjoy it for what it is. It's sweet and sentimental, and is really sort of nostalgic, a little bit of my childhood, as I really enjoyed this. I don't think I ever watched this film in particular until watching these films for this ranking, but it's still really good for what it is. The thing that really sets it back a little bit for me is, especially as it stands out as not quite an original idea in this list of movies, as there's been many Winnie the Pooh movies and not as much as these other original ideas. The reason of conflict and the reason that all of the problems come out is just from a misunderstanding of reading a note, so it just isn't super creative in the way it crafts its story. It's fun and it has some sweet little moments with Pooh and all of his furry friends, but overall it's pretty good for what it is, though it doesn't have all of that creative juices inside of it. At number 9, we have Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and this is a fun, good film for what it is trying to be. It goes as a sequel to Wreck-It Ralph, and it works as that, and it creatively brings out some interesting tropes into the different genre of bringing video games into real life. It explores the internet in ways that's quite interesting, and it's really well portrayed with all the animation that it brings out. But overall, some of the character moments we get with Ralph feels a little bit too goofy, especially compared to how he was portrayed in the original. Sometimes he feels just a little bit too dumb with some of the decisions he makes, how he acts, and it feels like he's a little bit of a different character and a little too sensitive for who he is with his best friend Vanellope, in the way he acts as a character. And while the story is decent, and especially the Disney princess moments and the Disney Star Wars moments stand out as a charm, overall this film is just good, not too much else. Number 8, we have Frozen 2, and this is a good film. Once again, it has a nice original idea that continues the Frozen franchise, but what really sets it back is it has a drastic tonal shift from the original. So while it presents its own story really well, it has some fun character moments and really good songs in the mix. Overall, the tonal shift makes it feel quite different, and while it still may be really rewatchable, and I may get to understand it upon rewatching it, overall, just upon the first time viewing, it just doesn't quite work as well. Next up, we have Disney's Princess and the Frog, which seems simple and just simple entertainment at some point, but it has some drastic changes in the twist it brings out, and it's surprising the way it's presented, and it's still using some of that older animation style. But yeah, it's still enjoyable, it's still entertaining, the way it brings out its story in the classic love story of the Princess and the Frog, bringing the princess, transforming her into the frog, and just trying to figure out what true love is in this situation. And at number 6, we have Wreck-It Ralph, and while this film does really well in this nostalgic aspect that brings out some of the more iconic older video game characters for those that played the video games, including myself, but those also for those that just recognize the characters as is and just get to see them brought into animation, into real life, and have this story involved with actually the characters having feelings and having a story intermixed between having an actual community of video game characters within the arcade, and it feels very unique and fresh the way it's presented. And though there's some little bit tediously annoying moments within the mix, as this is more of a kids film, it's still really well portrayed and really watchable as I enjoy this film. At number 5, we have Zootopia, which is a tale where the rabbit wants to go and become a cop at this supposedly perfect world, and it's portrayed in a way that all of the themes are really well done, as it's a big surprise of how it all works out, how it all flows, and the themes it presents with the prejudices not having against others, as well as just learning to not live with too much expectations, but going and seeking after your dreams nonetheless. It's all presented in a way that's really fun and entertaining and still intended for kids, yet it doesn't overdo the childness of what it's trying to do. It still can work for an older audience as such as myself, and all of that is intermixed within a fun story with fun characters and enjoyable and intriguing investment into the film. Number 4, we have Tangled, and this is a creative way of portraying the story of Rapunzel and all of that all into the mix of just some good fun, some good laugh, and just some good and creative ways of presenting this story. And it's all done in a way that's entertaining and intriguing. The way it's all brought about and the love story within is just so iconic. The way I really come to enjoy the relationship between Flynn Rider and Rapunzel, and just how that all works with the evil mother who doesn't necessarily act as a villain as first. Her intentions are just for herself, which is just selfish in that way, but not necessarily villainous, but the transformation into becoming a real villain is just unique and enjoyable the way it is. And at number 3, we have Frozen, and if you don't like how I'm putting this ranking, just let it go. I just really enjoy the way this story is crafted. The songs are very re-listenable, and it's just really enjoyable the way the story flows out. And while some of the story with just the love at first sight sort of trope isn't necessarily the most compelling, it all works out in a way that Elsa is presented in a strong and passionate way of becoming an ice queen, and Anna as the character of a princess is done in a way that's really well compelling, as she doesn't know her sister's powers but then has to save her as she finds out. And all of the way the story flows out and presented, and just a fun and charming way of presenting Elsa's story is just done really well. Coming in at number 2, we have Big Hero 6, and although I really enjoy all of the other films before this is the one that starts to really bring out the emotion, as we get just a death that's really powerful, and just a story that's really powerful that makes you really teary-eyed, and just the way it all flows out is really creative. The superhero team that's not the Avengers, it's not some sort of iconic superhero. It reminds me of the Guardians of the Galaxy, where they present an obscure group of characters that most people have never seen before, and for Big Hero 6 we haven't seen before at all, yet it all works in a way that's super compelling and really relatable. And just seeing how it all works out, and just seeing the character dynamics, the conflict, and it doesn't work out in a way that the superhero team just gets together and it's as easy as that. There's conflicts that they have to get over and dynamics they have to overcome, and just getting together as a group isn't easy, but in the end it all works out, but it's all really well portrayed. But coming in at number 1, we have Moana, a huge surprise for me, and all of this is really well done. All of the characters, all of the songs, all of the just the dynamics, the way the story works out, the themes, and the message presented throughout the story, and just the way it's all presented is really enjoyable and watchable. And even upon the rewatch, going in before making this list, I didn't care as much for some of the songs such as Shiny and You're Welcome upon the first viewing, but of course with the song of How Far I'll Go, it's just really inspiring in the way the themes are presented within the song alone. And I listen to it a lot often and watch it quite often, and I'm surprised how much I haven't rewatched this film as much as I enjoy it. But it was still yet another surprise that I was able to enjoy some of the other songs that I didn't necessarily as much before upon the rewatch, and just the way everything flows out, the characters, the story, and everything in between. That's what puts Moana at number one of the Disney Revival era ranking. But like I said, those are just my personal thoughts on these films, and I'd love to hear yours down in the comments below. Let me know how you would rank all of these films, or at least the ones you watched from the worst to the best, and I'd love to start a nice personal discussion and be respectful of others' opinions, because we all have our own ways of looking at these films, what we want from them as animated films. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Let me know what Disney era you'd like to see me rank next, and also be sure to check out some of these other videos on the left hand side of the screen. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more upcoming videos, and I'll be back for more movie reviews, rankings, and more.